This video is from the topic B5 and we are looking at diabetics versus non-diabetics. So a non-diabetic person will be able to make insulin, and that insulin is produced in the pancreas and it takes any excess glucose from the blood. So when you've had lots of sugary foods, that all makes its way into the blood. And when those levels are high, insulin is released, which converts some of that glucose to glycogen. The glycogen is then stored in the liver and in the muscles. Now, a diabetic person, if they are type 1 diabetic, the pancreas fails to produce sufficient insulin. Okay, so that means they don't have that insulin to be able to convert the glucose to glycogen. The result of that is that they end up with excess glucose, too much glucose in the blood. A type 2 diabetic, the body cells no longer respond to the insulin produced by the pancreas. That means that even though they're producing insulin, the body cells can't react to the insulin. So again, they end up with too much glucose left in the blood. When we go to the kidney's role, its function, is to filter the blood to remove any excess urea from the blood. That comes from proteins, comes from amino acids more specifically. And at the same time when that filtering happens, if the glucose concentrations are incredibly high in the blood, then some of that glucose will make its way into the urine. So, what's the practical? Well, I've got urine sample A, urine sample B. One of these people is a diabetic and one is a non-diabetic. We're using that same heat-activated chemical, the Benedict solution, and you can see on the picture there, Benedict must be heated. I've got some kettle water in both of these beakers, using them as water baths, and I've got 2 boiling tubes ready to transfer some of my urine samples into those. So some of urine sample A is going into this boiling tube. Get quite a lot in there so we really see any colour changes. And urine sample B is going into this tube. So one of these people will have, one of these urine samples will have very high concentrations of glucose, and that person is the diabetic. Okay, a non-diabetic, you would expect the glucose levels to be well controlled and monitored, the pancreas releasing that insulin, converting any of that excess glucose into glycogen, putting it into storage for when we're low on sugar, and then it can be released again. So we're going to add plenty of the Benedict solution. And you can see again on the picture there, we've got that colour change. It's the traffic light system, where if there's a small amount of sugar, we'll get a colour change to green. Bit more, we get a colour change to amber. And if there's lots of sugar, alarm bells ring, we get the red colour. It's kind of that traffic light system of colours, which helps us to remember some sugar going through to lots of sugar. Now this is heat activated and it takes about 20 minutes to work, so I'm going to leave that for the moment and come back to you in 20 minutes. Let's take a look at the results. So remember we said if there are high concentrations of sugar in the urine, that person has the signs of being a diabetic. That means that the excess glucose that was in their blood has not been transferred into glycogen and stored in the liver and the muscles. So that means that some of it gets filtered through the kidneys and joins the urine, and that's what we're testing here. We're testing our 2 urine samples, one that is from a diabetic, one from a non-diabetic. So here we've got the same colour as the original Benedict's, the blue colour, so that's telling us from our guide here that there's no sugar in that one, and this one has gone that orangey colour on top, a little bit of green still underneath, so there's definitely sugar in that urine. This person, person B, is the diabetic. Hope you found that useful. Thank you.